My name's Jeremy Bloom. I'm Highways England's Network Planning Director, and I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour into the world of investment planning for our next road investment period. The biggest change that the strategic road network faced about 2 years ago was when we became Highways England, and we were given a 5-year investment cycle with funding committed for those 5 years. And it started a process of regular planning cycles, much as we've seen in other utilities and, of course, Network Rail. The road investment strategy was published in 2015, and I think it's fair to say that a good job was done, but it was put together over a relatively short time scale. It was our first ever road investment strategy. My previous role was in major projects, delivering a lot of the schemes in the road investment strategy. And I'm really pleased to have the opportunity now to take the lessons that we learned from that first RIS and bring it to bear as we develop the next road investment strategy for 2020 to 2025. And we're now actively engaging in that process, which gives us more time to plan in a more robust and rigorous and collaborative way. So what makes up RIS 2, Road Investment Strategy 2? Well, there's a strategic vision which is set by government, through the Department of Transport, and a performance specification for how the network will be expected to operate. There'll be a statement of the funds available, and critically, and what I'm going to talk about today, is the investment plan, the projects that we will commit to over the next 5-year period. This schematic really shows the process that we're going through with our colleagues in the Department for Transport to develop and agree the next road investment strategy. We're still very much at the early stages. We are still 3 years away from the next RIS, and we're in the research phase, effectively. Quite a lot of that work is coming to fruition now around our economic growth plan, the strategic studies, the route strategies, and later this year we'll be publishing our first initial report. That will move into public consultation, which will be led by the Department for Transport on that initial report at the back end of the year. And then next year we'll be moving into the phase where the department will be developing the detail of what will go into RIS 2, and Highways England will be developing the strategic business plan. By the end of 18-19, we'll be in a position to publish the road investment strategy and then move into mobilising for RIS 2 in a way that we didn't have sufficient time to do for RIS 1. So a much more robust, rigorous process, an opportunity for people to be involved and engaged. And the intention, and I'm sure we'll be very successful, is to produce a very robust, rigorous and deliverable investment plan with really tangible benefits for the country as a whole and the economy. I'm not going to go through this slide in detail, but this sets out the 5 strategic aims of government for the strategic road network, and this is the framework really that will guide the decision making on the road investment plan. So just taking you through some of the planning activities that have been underway, that are moving into a position of more maturity. The first is the route strategies, which many of you may have heard about. So we've divided the whole network up into 18 routes. We produced route strategies for the first RIS, but I think this time the process has been much more comprehensive, much more rigorous. We're close to being able to publish the route strategies by the end of this month, and what they will give us is a very comprehensive assessment of the network, all the issues that face us today and in the future, where those problems that need addressing are on the network, and some very high-level potential solutions where we can make interventions to either facilitate growth, improve safety, reduce congestion, and so forth. So we'll have a very, very comprehensive evidence base. The Road to Growth is our strategic economic growth plan. When we became Highways England, we recognised the importance of the strategic road network to not only support economic growth, but to help to facilitate it. And this is what the work we've been doing. We've created, established a very skilled team who are very experienced in economic development. We've been working with partners across the country. And again, this month we are going to be able to publish our first ever strategic economic growth plan, which will identify the areas where we can intervene across the network to facilitate economic growth. And last but not least, the strategic studies. So prior to RIS1, we had a series of feasibility studies which were very successful and led to investments on various corridors across the country, significant investments in RIS1. We've now, in RIS2, at the beginning of RIS1, we announced, government announced a series of strategic studies. So there are 6 there, 3 in the north, 3 across the south, one of which, Oxford to Cambridge Expressway, has been mentioned, is one of the key ones that we're actually going to be taking forward, and I will just touch on that a little more in a moment. But it's safe to say that these are very transformational projects, very large projects potentially, that have the ability to really transform economic growth, and Oxford to Cambridge Expressway is one of those. The initial report will provide an assessment of the current state of the network and its needs, as I've said, and it will be published in November, and then will be consulted on. So all of those elements I've talked about will feed into the initial report. In terms of selecting schemes, we're now moving into that process where we will be taking on board all the evidence, including stakeholder feedback. We'll be undertaking some multi-criteria assessment to attempt to prioritise the investment, and we'll be maturing some of those schemes over the next year to give us more confidence in the costs and benefits and deliverability of those schemes. The results of that work will be presented to the Secretary of State as a recommendation, and a decision on what comprises the investment plan will be made, and then that will be translated into a delivery plan for Highways England to then mobilise to deliver in the next roads period. Just very briefly before I close, I've given you a very brief and general overview of our process. But the Oxford to Cambridge Expressway really has the ability, I think, and the opportunity, gives an opportunity to transform the economic development, economic growth in this particular region, along with East West Rail. The corridor runs right from the M4 down in Berkshire, up the A34 to Oxford, across to the M1 near Milton Keynes, and then on to Cambridge. Some of it will involve upgrading the existing road to expressway, but quite critically, and I don't expect you to be able to read the detail on this slide, but quite critically, there's a missing link between Oxford and Milton Keynes, which is really the centrepiece of this really transformative and important project. Over the next year or so, we are going to be moving into a much more detailed project options assessment phase, having made the strategic and economic case for this project. There are 3 potential corridors between Oxford and Milton Keynes. On there, it's a green, magenta and blue line to the left of the diagram, and we'll be focusing on narrowing those options down, optimising them, coming up with a preferred corridor, and then developing a preferred route. and that also applies to links to the A34 around Oxford. So a lot of detailed assessment to be done, a lot of working in partnership, a lot of engagement with key partners and stakeholders, but a real opportunity to get this project on the ground in the next roads period. In terms of next steps, we've received £27 million committed towards Oxford to Cambridge to develop the options and to develop the scheme through its options phases. And we're currently mobilising the team and procuring support to deliver that. In terms of the route strategy schemes, we are undertaking the multi-criteria assessment, which will give us some priorities, and we will be developing those priority schemes over the next year so that we can produce strategic outline business cases to inform our strategic business plan for RIS2 and determine a set of schemes that we're confident that we can deliver. All in all, I think the message that I would give you is that this is a much more rigorous and robust approach, very comprehensive, very collaborative approach than we've been able to take previously. And I think it puts us in a very strong position to deliver the enhancements to the whole network, and particularly in this region, that will help to support the growth of the region and improve the strategic road network. Thank you.